learning process during an actual game that the results matter.
Well, there's so much that he's going to have to go through, and David Beatty, it's one thing to coach a position group or an offense, but to run a whole team on game day, there's a lot that you have to rehearse and go over.
Matthew Wyman, he's the kicker. He'll try it again. The play clock is set this time, and the football season officially underway, and Wyman will boot this one way out of the back of the end zone. And again, players still don't know the ball is not in play, and they're still pushing and shoving. But South Dakota State will get the ball at the 25-yard line, and they are led out onto the field by Zach Lujan, who takes over as the starter this season, although last year he got some valuable experience because of an injury to their starter, Austin Sumner. Lujan actually started in 5 games last year, threw for almost 2,000 yards and 13 touchdowns, as you see, and not exactly the way they wanted to get him the experience, but coming in to his first season as the starter, I'm sure they're happy that he has it. Brady Mangarelli is in the backfield for a South Dakota State team that historically likes to run the football. And they give it to Mangarelli, and he is swallowed up at the line of scrimmage. Courtney Arnick got in there after a couple of yards.
Well, and expect to see a lot of this out of South Dakota State. This is pretty much what they do. They run the football. They run the football. You're going to see a little bit more of a traditional offense. 2 tight ends. You'll see a fullback in there. But they really want to run to set up the play-action pass. So there's going to be a lot of run-defending type of techniques that these guys have to work on if you're KU. And their corners have to really stay home for the play-action pass.
On second down, they will throw. And with a little space on the outside is Jake Wieneke, and he slipped away down the sidelines. Wieneke tripped up but stays on his feet. They mark him out back at the 14-yard line. They go to their big 6'4" sophomore wide receiver, and he goes for 60 yards.
You can't miss tackles when you're lined up one-on-one. They get him up on the outside. You get him one-on-one. You have to make that open field tackle. I know he's 6'4". He looks like he's about 220 pounds. He's about 208. But the guy can truly play. And you'll see right here as he steps out of bounds right there. Right foot goes out of bounds. Great call by the officials.
A little delay on the direct snap to Mangarelli. And he is dragged down at the 5-yard line. Picked up 8 on first down. We've seen some of the key players already, Ben, for when South Dakota State has the football.
Well, we just saw Wieneke right there. He was the Missouri Valley Freshman of the Year. You can see his big playmaking ability. Mangarelli steps in for Zach Zenner. We'll see how he does starting at running back. TJ Simke, because they run so much, they're going to see so much run. He's the best run defender as a defensive end. And when it comes to pass defense, Bomani Mosby is their best pass rusher.
2nd and 2 from the 5. And a misfire intended on the outside for Connor Landberg, the junior out of Laguna Hills, California. The South Dakota State offense has come right down the field with a big 60-yard strike, and there are a lot of eyes, obviously, on the KU offense, but the defense as well. They have a little more continuity with the fact that their defensive coordinator and former head coach Clint Bowen is back.
Pass.
I think there was some confusion on whether that pass was backwards or forwards. You're going to take a second look at it, but clearly if it's forwards, it's an incomplete pass. If it was backwards, then it was considered a fumble.
They are reviewing it, and at first look, and again, we don't have the perfect angle for it, but it looked backwards. This should give us a little better idea. That's straight across and would be pretty hard to tell. Let's see where he releases the football from. As he takes a step.
After further review, the ruling on the field was an incomplete backward pass. The ball would be placed at the 11-yard line, 3rd down.
And I think that's the correct call. I mean, we saw it right there. That was a good angle. The footwork, he delivered the football, and it was about 2 yards behind him as he threw the ball. So that's a pretty easy call, and they spot it now back, 5 yards from the line of scrimmage where they started.
So it'll make it 3rd and 8 from the 11-yard line. And a little bit more room to breathe for the KU defense. Lujan working from the shotgun with Mangarelli to his left. Lujan with time. An open receiver, but it's out of the hands of Trevor Wesley. And so after marching right down the field on their first possession, they will have to settle for a field goal try.
Well, in this situation, even if the ball was completed, I think there was a corner that was sitting out there that was going to be there to try to make the play. I'm surprised that they're in that position. They're just going for the first down. We're trying to get the touchdown right there and just off the fingertips. So we're going to see Jay Carlson see if they get the first points of the season for the Jackrabbits.
28-yard attempt for the senior out of Parkville, Missouri, who has only attempted 1 field goal in his career. And this one is good, and the Jackrabbits have the early lead. So, Ben, we got a little glimpse of what South Dakota State is capable of. Yes, they are an FCS opponent against an FBS program in Kansas, but this is a team that has had some sustained success over the past few years. They have 3 times in a row qualified for the FCS playoffs. And we saw Winicky, who is a playmaker, to say the least, not only at the FCS level, but a guy who's 6'4", 210 pounds. Doesn't matter what level you're at, when you're that size, you are a weapon.
Yeah, he's a huge weapon. I think he was a big surprise for them last year. They quickly realized, man, we have a true playmaker here. He's only a sophomore, so he's got a few more years left in this system. That's what they're going to try to do. That's how they hurt people last year. They had a guy in Zach Zenner, who's now the Detroit Lions, who ran for like 6,500 yards in his career. When you have a guy like that, so much focus is put in the box trying to stop the run. They had 2 really good receivers last year, and he was one of them. You knew that they're going to go out and go early and try to get him the football. I didn't realize it was going to be on the second play. There was a missed tackle there, so that contributed a large part of that big play. But you're going to see a lot of shots taken with Jake Winicky.
South Dakota State, last season 9-5 overall. 5-3 in the Missouri Valley. They've won exactly 9 games in each of the past 3 seasons, and they've qualified for the FCS playoffs 4 times in their last 6 years. They are ranked 15th in the preseason FCS poll. The Missouri Valley Football Conference is a heck of a conference when it comes to the football championship series. It is the freshman Steve Sims who gets across the 20. For quarterback Montel Cozart. Making his 9th career start. He started the opener last year. Things did not go well. He was taken out of the starting role, replaced by Michael Cummings. An injury to Michael Cummings in the spring game has caused him to miss this entire season. And so Montel Cozart ends a string of musical chairs at the quarterback position, at least when it comes to week 1. His option in the backfield is a newcomer as well, Keon Kinner. And they give it to him on the first play, and he cannot turn the corner, and he's dropped for a loss.
It was Keon Kinner we saw in that first carry. You're going to see a lot more of him, the junior college offensive player of the year. He's going to get a ton of opportunities to carry the football. Steve Sims we saw in the kickoff return, a young freshman starting at wide receiver. He'll get a lot of play. TJ Lally, the linebacker for South Dakota State, makes plays all over the football field. And Christian Benasiak, the defensive end, a raw player. He may not see a lot of snaps, but they love his upside, and he plays extremely violent.
First pass was good, complete to Ben Johnson, the tight end. He got 3 yards on the play. And so after the loss on first down, it brings up 3rd and 9. For the first 3rd down, Cozart will have to run. He can, but he puts it in the air, and slipping through a tackle, Trey Parmalee down the sideline, and he's taken down at the 42 of the Jackrabbits. 35 yards before Jimmy Forsythe was able to upend Parmalee.
And that's a good way to get the confidence in your quarterback. Rob Likens, the offensive coordinator, said, you guys are surprised. You should be surprised at how athletic he is. He did a great job of using his feet to get out of trouble, but he kept his eyes downfield, so that's a confidence play right there from Montel Cozart.
Cozart will throw again. Quick slant to Kent Taylor, and another first down for KU.
This is another area of this offense that Likens didn't have at Cal when he was the offensive coordinator. He said, we didn't have the tight ends that we have now. You saw how they're going to implement tight ends here in his offense in Kansas.
And you're starting to see the tempo for KU as well as we get whistles here and a flag down. Looks like a false start.
False start. Offense number 62. 5-yard penalty. Still second down.
It's the right guard, DeAndre Banks. Go back 2 plays. And this was the scramble and a great decision to throw the football, and then Parmalee able to slip away from Nick Farina and turn it ahead for 35 yards.
And let's not take away from how tough that throw is. Rolling to your left as a right-handed quarterback, switched the ball from his left to his right as he scrambled and delivered an accurate pass.
Got the ball in the hands of Keon Kinner, and he took a hard hit, but he crossed the 25 before he did. Nick Mears on the tackle, but a 9-yard gain for Keon Kinner.
Now, this is a tempo that South Dakota State is not used to seeing. They have more of a traditional offense. Now this whole week of prep, they have to get their scout team guys to play at this level, but it's just not quite the same as it is on game day.
Kinner again. He fights his way close to the 20. A flag comes. Jesse Bobbitt on the tackle. As it'll bring up 3rd and short, but we'll check the flag.
Holding. Offense number 84. 10-yard penalty. Still second down.
It's the tight end Ben Johnson who had that 14-yard catch just a few plays ago.
You'll see Ben Johnson on the right hand of the screen right there. Number 84. You can see the jersey pull. Anytime you see the jersey pull, even if you're getting a combo block from the pulling guard, they're still going to call that.
After the penalty, 2nd and 16 at the 33.
DeAndre Mann now in the backfield for KU. As Cozart looking at 2nd and 16. He'll tuck it. He has the speed. And he fights his way down towards the 20. TJ Lally knocked him down after a 10-yard pickup.
Well, and a real nice job by DeAndre Banks, the right guard, number 62. Just latched on. Didn't let the defender go and actually drove him down to the ground and allowed the big hole for Cozart to run through.
2 receivers at the top, 2 at the bottom. On 3rd and 6. It'll be close. TJ Lally made the stop, and he's just short of picking up the 1st down. And the crowd starting to get the idea. Special teams are staying on the sidelines. Rob Likens, David Beatty going for it here. Maybe. Let's think about it. Timeout. Jayhawks. No doubt it is easy to get caught up in the emotion of the first drive of the season in your first game as a head coach. He called timeout. He thought about it. Still a good idea. Going for it on 4th and 1. And we have to press the pause button again.
You can see Kenyon Hott in the center like, come on, man. Let's go. We just got out of timeout.
They need 1. Keon Kinner is to the left of Montel Cozart. Just building and building in anticipation. Kinner stumbled forward, but it looks like he has enough. 1st down, Kansas, and the drive will continue.
Well, it was a really nice read by Jesse Bobbitt. The outside linebacker shot the gap, but when you only have about 6 inches to go, you get to stop him even further in the backfield than that.
Kinner again looking to get to the outside, and boy, did he get buried by TJ Lally. 6 foot, 225 pounds out of Chicago, making his 42nd consecutive start. And he put a licking on Keon Kinner.
Well, and that's what he's known for. You see just the girth that he plays with, the big upper body.
Oh, he got red. Dallas Brown one, and he is headed back towards the KU end zone. Cozart can't take him down, but Steve Sims can all the way back at the KU 25. Dallas Brown, the Sam linebacker, was sitting on that pass.
And boy, he knew it too. There was no hesitation about that pass.
52-yard return for the junior Dallas Brown. He is a linebacker, but was recruited as a DB. Looked like it there.
You guys see him at the bottom of your screen. He just reads it right away. They're trying to set up the little slip screen with the block. And Dallas Brown read it right away with a nice interception. Almost took it to the house.
Short gain, a couple of yards for Isaac Wallace on his first chance to touch the football today. Back up running back, but with South Dakota State, may not be a starter and a backup per se when you're replacing a guy like Zach Zenner. I said they're going to need to have a committee of guys to do it just to survive the season. They don't have the big, heavy back like Zenner was. They've got three smaller backs. This time it is Mangarelli. And he cuts back a couple of times. Touchdown, Jackrabbits. 25 yards for Mangarelli, just his second career touchdown.
I want you to take a look at Onosorgi here. Just getting that seal. Look at that seal right there and right there by Sider, the left guard, doing a great job of opening up that hole. And Mangarelli showing that he may be smaller than Zach Zenner, but he is every bit as powerful.
5'10", 195. And a couple of good jukes there. Bad snap, but they do get the kick off and through. And it is a 10-0 lead for the South Dakota State Jackrabbits. As KU on their opening drive, heading down the field, converted on fourth down, but a pick the other way. Brown brought it all the way back, and then the touchdown from Mangarelli has spotted South Dakota State at 10-0 lead here in the first quarter.
14 minutes? Yeah, I have 14 minutes.
We're going so well for the KU offense. But it changed in a hurry. An interception and then a 25-yard run by that man, Brady Mangarelli, taking over for Zach Zenner as the starting running back, and he has been impressive so far here in the first quarter as it is 10-0 in favor of the Jackrabbits. Ryan Shadler, he's a sprinter, and look at him go! Shadler will take it. The response from the Jayhawks is a touchdown on the ensuing kickoff. Ryan Shadler, a walk-on sprinter at Wichita State, transfers and delivers. 90 yards on the kick return.
Well, that's how you respond. Clint Bowen was wanting to know how his defense was going to respond, but David Beatty's special teams has responded to the interception by Dallas Brown and Mangarelli taking it for a touchdown. That's how you do it. You set up a little sucker right return. You fake everybody to the left. You break it to the right. And it was great blocking by the whole front line. And like you mentioned, using that sprinter speed, he was gone.
Nick Bartolotta will handle the PATs this season for Kansas. And he is 1 for 1. And it is now a 10-7 lead. The response, Ryan Shadler, the touchdown, 90 yards on the kick return. They've given Ryan Shadler an extra yard on his kick return, now officially 91 yards to put KU on the board. First time in 5 years, Ben. KU's had someone run one back to the house.
Well, and it was perfect timing, too, because your team just got hit in the mouth. You had your offense rolling down the field. Cozart was looking good, throws the pick. The defense gets swallowed up on the defensive line. They allow a touchdown. You needed a response like that.
After the touchback, let's go to Jenny Taft in Los Angeles for a game break and a birthday celebration. Happy birthday, Jenny.
Oh, thanks, Brendan. Number 17, Ole Miss hosting UT Martin. Jalen Walton, 60 yards for the score. First of 2 touchdowns for him. It's now 13-0 Ole Miss. Back to you guys in Lawrence.
Thank you, Jenny. Here we have a 10-7 7 football game. South Dakota State is out in front. And we'll see what they can do with the football now in their offense. They had the short field on their last possession, able to get into the end zone after a bad pick by Montel Cozart, who started 3 for 3, but then threw the interception. Now Zach Lujan, who is 1 for 2, but the one pass went for 60. This is Mangarelli again. And boy, is he tough to bring down. Makes it all the way out to the 33-yard line. A pickup of 8. We've talked about some of the guys KU is missing. And how about the guys that South Dakota State is missing? Not just Zach Zenner. They're missing their starting quarterback from last year, Zach Zenner, who was all everything for them and is now with the Detroit Lions, and Jason Schneider, who's their top wide receiving threat.
Well, not that you want to see any quarterback go down in Austin Sumner last year, but that allowed Lujan to come in, get the valuable game day experience. So, yes, you miss him, but Lujan replaced him very well and had almost 2,000 yards passing. So, yes, they lost him. Lujan's done a great job stepping in, but that loss of Zach Zenner, that was everything to this offense. They do such a good job of running with him, setting up the play action. But so far, Mangarelli has done a nice job to keep the offense flowing like it should.
Mangarelli just picked up the first down. He'll get a breather. Isaac Wallace will come in. Well, you've got Eric Eitznes, the offensive coordinator, and head coach John Stiegelmeier. They like to run the football. Doesn't matter if they lose Zach Zenner. They're going to do what they do. Here is what could be an interception for KU. No, they're calling it incomplete. Tyrone Miller, the true freshman,
Rolling on the field was an incomplete pass.
had a chance on it. It was tipped Trevor Wesley over his head, and it went right to Tyrone Miller.
Well, and rarely we see an empty set by South Dakota State. They get all 5 receivers out. And we talk about, as a defensive player all the time, tips and overthrows. You have to be alert. And Tyrone Miller was just close enough to almost pick off that overthrow. Good awareness by him to get his body on the ball.
And a good call, as you can see from that replay. On 2nd and 10. Pass is complete and room to run. Here's Wesley, the intended target on the last pass, getting this one here. Another long gain. That's a 20-yard pickup before Fish Smithson was able to make the tackle.
Well, a couple times now they've gone man-to-man on defense. And when that happens, you got to man up Trevor Wesley because he's faster than you think. Here's a guy that has always kind of been in the shadows of Schneider, and last year Winicky. He's going to have a chance this year to make a lot of plays. So watch out for number 80, Trevor Wesley.
And this time is to Isaac Wallace. Wallace knocked off his feet by Greg Allen. But still a 5-yard pickup for the Jackrabbits. And down on the field, Greg Allen is a little shaken up. And the trainers will have to come out. Both of these teams, aside from the obviously devastating injury to what most likely would have been their starting quarterback for KU, Michael Cummings, in the spring game, both of these teams made it through fall camp without any major issues in terms of injury front, a pulled muscle here or there, but no season-ending, long-term effect type of injuries. But of course, that Michael Cummings injury back in the spring game, a little friendly fire, and it winds up changing the entire course of the season.
Yeah, a little friendly fire. You wanted a big-time quarterback competition, especially with the new offensive coordinator. They don't really get that to happen. So it's Cozart's basically, inked in as the starting quarterback. But like you said, it's all about staying healthy through camp. And if you're looking at Kansas as a whole, not just offense or defense, they need bodies. So it's nice that they got through camp healthy.
Second and 5, and the flags come in.
I think again, Dylan Sider, the left guard, jumped a little bit too early when he's trying to pull.
False start. Offense number 61. 5-yard penalty. Still 2nd down.
It is Dylan Sider, the left guard. There are 4 returning members of the offensive line for South Dakota State, but still, when earlier this week we talked to John Stiegelmeier, he said that's what keeps him up at night, is that offensive line. He's got 4 guys that are returning, and then Charlie Harmon, who had played 1 game in his collegiate career, is now your starting left tackle. And he thinks that the overall success of the offense could be determined by their offensive line. Lujan's pass is complete to Winicky, and he's wrestled out of bounds just shy of a first down by the freshman Tyrone Miller. It's already 75 catches in the career of Jake Wieneke, who was just a sophomore last year. 1,404 yards, the second most by a freshman in FCS history. By the way, he caught 16 touchdowns as well.
We saw just how tough and strong he is. Tyrone Miller's 6 foot 180. He's not the biggest corner. He is a true freshman, but you saw in that second play of the game, Wieneke went out, broke a couple tackles. He's a big guy, and you have to wrap your arms around him.
Rex snap to Isaac Wallace on third down, and he is able to pick it up with a gain of 4. Ben, on that play, the defensive tackle Cole Langer came into the game as a blocker.
Well, and I think that's what makes this offense so unique is you see the big backfield right here. They're able to, like they did in this series right here, they can go 5 wides, or they can go tight, bring in some fullbacks, bring in some big tight ends to block for these guys. So for this defense right now, you've got to not only play in space, but you got to bow up and hit somebody in the mouth.
On first down. There he is again. Wieneke, touchdown as a flag comes in. If it stands, it'll be 29 yards. As Wieneke was picking on Tyrone Miller again.
Holding. Defense number 19. That penalty is declined. Touchdown.
Jackrabbits add to their lead. Another touchdown catch for Jake Wieneke.
Well, they're going to find some help for Tyrone Miller. Again, he's the true freshman lined up on the freshman All-American player in the Missouri Valley Conference. When he crosses your face like that, you don't have safety help. You're all alone, and that's too easy of a play for a guy that's 6'4", 210 pounds, in Jake Wieneke.
Extra point is good as well, and South Dakota State's lead has grown back. Jake Wieneke, runner-up for the Jerry Rice Award last year as the top freshman in the FCS. How about his sophomore slump? I don't see it anywhere. And on KU here in the first quarter after the 8-play drive and the touchdown catch for Wieneke, who already has 98 yards on 3 catches so far today. Here's another look at that touchdown.
Well, you're going to see Wieneke lined up on the true freshman. At about right here, he's going to cross his face with no safety help. You've got a 6-foot freshman corner lined up on a 6'4" receiver. And really, that's just too easy. You have nobody to give you any safety valve, no deep help, basically one-on-one, and you've got to win that battle. You can't let him cross your face, and he does, and Lujan makes him pay, delivers a nice, accurate pass, and here you are. You've got an FCS team 17-7 on KU.
Ryan Chandler, who took it back the last time. They're going to put it in his direction again at the 21. Can't get away this time as he's wrapped up at about the 26. Let's go down to the field and Christian Steckel. Christian?
Well, guys, David Beatty is trying to obviously change the identity of this program, and he started by meeting his players in the locker room before his opening press conference, taking the job, saying he wanted them to know that this was about them rather than anybody else. He talks a lot about saying yes to any question that might come his way. Why? Because you've got to get things done if you're going to turn around a program, and he says we're going to do it with special teams, valuing each possession, and, of course, winning the fourth quarter, guys.
Thank you, Christian. Here on first down for Cozart. He throws a bullet, and it is complete over near the sidelines. A nice grab by a true freshman, Steve Sims, for KU. Gets just 4 yards, but a nice grab regardless. We'll start to see, again, on the last drive that Kansas ended in an interception, the tempo, and it just hasn't quite been there. It's supposed to be that air raid up-tempo type of offense, and, of course, this is a new system for these players. They seem to need to get in that groove a little bit as Cozart has a little time and misfires looking for Ben Johnson, the tight end.
Well, going back to what David Beatty is trying to do and change here is the one thing that I like what he said yesterday is, you know, you need to start thinking about the guy next to you. Start thinking about other people. And what that does is it builds accountability. Because you want to see what the guy next to you is doing. He's going to see what you're doing. And accountability is everything in football. You have to build that trust.
Cozart to throw. He got buried, and the pass goes incomplete as they're still picking up bodies off of Montel Cozart back behind the line of scrimmage. The pressure came from Kellen Sulik and J.R. Plody.
Well, this is an area where South Dakota State has to get better from last year. They weren't great at getting to the quarterback. They didn't have a lot of sacks. And a lot of the sacks they had last year against non-conference games. So that was a point of emphasis. Win the one-on-one battles. And that particular rush right there was a nice little twist play on the inside. Confused the offensive lineman, which allowed the pressure on the quarterback. And Cozart, has to start settling down right now. The first pass of the series, he zipped it out there. It was a great pass, but he's going to calm down. He missed an open receiver on the second play. He just needs to relax as this game goes on.
Punt is fielded at the 20. A few missed tackles and a lost shoot for Jerian Butler. And then flags come in late. Tevin Shaw, the one who eventually was able to wrap up the dangerous Jerian Butler. 49-yard punt. Just a 4-yard return and late flags. David Beatty is concerned with Jerian Butler, their punt returner. Calls him maybe the most dynamic returner at the FCS level that he has seen. And a long time sorting out the late flag that is the 26-yard line right near where Butler was wrapped up.
There are two flags on the play. There is no foul for illegal block in the back. However, there is a personal foul on the kicking team for a late hit. There'll be 15 yards at the dead ball spot. First down.
That's not going to make David Beatty happy. He knows that he does not have the depth of a lot of rosters. One thing he wanted to focus on was the details, and with that is minimizing penalties.
Well, Christian just talked about it on the sidelines. Is one of his keys and his goals for this team is win the fourth quarter and win special teams. Great kickoff return for touchdown, but you can't jump over the pile and make a helmet-to-helmet contact and draw a flag. That's just undisciplined football. And for a team that doesn't have a lot of depth, they don't have a lot of elite skill, you have to limit those penalties.
So it moves the ball all the way out to the 37-yard line for South Dakota State and their quarterback, Zach Lujan, who has loads of time. The pass is complete. They're going to give him forward progress out to about the 44-yard line. Catch made by the senior Cam Jones. It is third season as the starting tight end. Got 7.
Well, and again, that just goes back to the offensive formation that South Dakota State, they're able to implement. They can go 5 wides. They can go, 2 to 3 backs in the backfield, and that time they're shotgun and pistol. So you got to be alert for everything.
On 2nd and 3, Isaac Wallace is able to barrel through, and he gets that first down. Redshirt freshman that was a key member of the scout team last year. Now he's going to get his reps. Rushed for over 2,500 yards as a senior in high school. And in one game, rushed for 404 yards and 8 touchdowns, setting a Nebraska playoff single-game record in the process. They have some guys that can run.
They have guys that can run, but they have guys that can block. I mean, right now, if you would have asked me what's the difference in this football game, it's South Dakota's offensive line pushing around the defensive front for KU. And that's something that Clint Bowen said, we got to learn how to get hit in the mouth and respond. And so far, I don't think physically they're responding.
Nice tackle by Joe Dineen Jr. Saved what could have been a long gain and limited to just 2 yards.
Well, you're going to see a pressure off the left side. That was just enough of a distraction to get the guy to cut back inside further than he wanted, which allowed Dineen to come in there and make the tackle. So you've seen a little bit more blitzing. Clint Bowen's he's gonna dial it up. He told us, I'm gonna stay aggressive. I know I got a young defense, but I have to stay aggressive for these guys to make plays and build some confidence.
2nd and 8. Wallace to the boundary. And he's dragged out of bounds at the 45-yard line. Greg Allen and Joe Dineen Jr. are out there to track him down. Kansas, well, they're replacing a lot. They're replacing 2 very talented cornerbacks as well.
All right, check it out right here. When I talk about putting a body on a guy and just wrestling him to the football ground. Look at that. Charlie Harmon, the left tackle, latches on and doesn't let go and drives the defender to the ground. Those are the battles that they're winning. Yeah, it might just be for 2 or 3 yards, 4 yards, but that sort of physicality weighs on a defensive lineman.
Big third down here. Lujan has his man Winicky, and he's got a first down all the way down to the 34-yard line. Didn't need 11, but he got it. But I'm mentioning the coverage right now when we're talking about a wide receiver just having a field day right now with the defensive backs for KU. They're missing Ja'Cory Shepherd, who was drafted by the Eagles. Missing Dexter McDonald, was drafted by the Oakland Raiders. There were some players here in KU. They haven't had success, but they had some good individual players, maybe most notably in the secondary. They're gone. They're replacing so much on the defensive side of the ball for KU. Whistles come in late. And a flag thrown.
Offense number 26, 5-yard penalty. Go first down.
Took him a while to get the play blown dead, but it is a false start. So in the final minute here in the first quarter, South Dakota State backed up to 1st and 15. Lujan has time again. Complete to Trevor Wesley.
Well, once again, they're trying to get Wesley involved. You can see him right here as the number 2 receiver. A guy that doesn't have elite speed. He's not, not the most dynamic player, but they say he does everything right. You can tell right there just the route that he ran, finding that open space, getting in front of those safeties and right behind those linebackers. It's a great job of just being a savvy receiver for Trevor Wesley.
And that'll bring us to the end of the first quarter here in Kansas. South Dakota State has put up 17 points. Kansas just 7, and it came on a 91-yard kick return. The offense hasn't been able to kick it into gear, but they also haven't been able to keep the football for very long. South Dakota State, impressive in our opening quarter. They lead by 10.
They can get you second-guessing what you're going to call on defense. When you want to dial up a blitz and you get singled up on the outside, you get the potential for big plays, and they've hit them on a couple of those big plays. So Clint Bowen right now is probably reeling, just trying to figure out what defensive play to call.
Delayed handoff to Wallace, and he stumbled a little bit, but still got maybe a yard. One of the other first quarter stats, Ben, that jumps out, time of possession. The 15-minute quarter split almost directly. 10 minutes for South Dakota State and 5 minutes for KU. As you see, Clint Bowen is assistant head coach, defensive coordinator, the safeties coach. And last year, he was the interim head coach after Charlie Weiss was let go. And his best friend, David Beatty, came back to be hired as the head coach and hired him to stay on the staff. Which for a team that has dealt with a lot of turnover in the coaching staff, certainly a nice change. Lujan will go to the outside. Maybe a tip on that ball as he let it go. Intended for Trevor Wesley, but Tevin Shaw did a good job to get some pressure.
Well, 2 guys I think you have to keep your eyes on right now, if you're South Dakota State, is Cam Jones, number 85, the tight end. He's a 6'5", 250-yard target. And then again, you got Winicky out there at 6'4". So this is the area, we always talk about the red zone using your big bodies. There's not a lot of height and girth on the outside for this KU defense, so I expect him to exploit those 2 guys.
3rd and 10 from the 16. Looking to the end zone, and he put it up there for him. He made the catch. Looked like he touchdown. Jake Winicky made the catch and touched a toe on his way out of bounds.
That was a tremendous catch.
Rolling on the field.
But we're going to have to see if that right foot was in bounds 100%. Ooh, that's in.
That's a touchdown.
That's a touchdown. That's a great call. From that angle, you can tell right there, his right foot does come inbounds. You see a little bit of the blue from the end zone.
He got 2 feet in. That one will still count a week for tomorrow.
If you didn't think this kid Winicky was talented, man, we saw a lot of skill and a lot of what he can do on that one play.
It is the Jake Winicky show at this point. That one might be his best. 2 touchdowns, over 100 yards, and gives them a 24-7 lead over KU here in the early stages of the second quarter. A lot of fans made the trip down from Brookings, South Dakota. And a lot of KU fans stunned at this point as Derek Neal will take this one from the 1. And he ran into his own man, and he got knocked backwards. Let's take a look now at our Academy Sports Right Stuff key players so far for South Dakota State. That man, Jake Winicky, 125 yards already on 5 catches. And look at the last catch again, because we had to look at it a few times just to appreciate it.
Well, seeing it in real time, we looked at each other like, did he get in? But then slow motion, he got 2 feet in. It wasn't a great ball by Lujan, but he does such a good job of tracking that football, using his height and jumping over and grabbing that football and getting his 2 feet in. Just great awareness for this young sophomore.
Took a while to wrap him up. Keon Kinner got 3 yards. Ben, I'll ask you this question as we've watched that replay a couple of times now. Brendan Stewart on coverage. What could he have done differently on that play to stop that man from catching the football?
You know, sometimes they just make plays. And, you know, he put himself in good body position. Yeah, he could maybe turn around when he read the receiver's eyes, but you know, there's not a lot you can do in those situations. Winicky is a special talent, and when he has the height advantage and you've got good coverage, those things are going to happen. You just have to shrug it off. This whole team, if you're Kansas, offense and defense, they tried for a big play right there, but they need to just realize that they have a lot of game left. Don't panic. Don't rush things. I know they tried for the big play, tried for the home run shot, but just take a big, deep breath because there's a lot of game to be played.
Another 3rd down here, 3rd and 8. KU is 1 for 3 on 3rd downs here today. Cozart has time, but he will tuck it. And he will get it, but he put the ball on the ground. South Dakota State acting as if they have it. And they will dig through the pile. Jackrabbits have the football. 2nd turnover for KU today. Nick Mears, the strong safety, came in and knocked it out. And the linebacker, Jesse Bobbitt, came up with it. And now the concern is Cozart still on the field. You can see him getting hit a couple of times. His helmet nearly came off at the bottom of that pile. And Montel Cozart is down on the field for the Jayhawks. After a fumble and a recovery by the Jackrabbits.
Well, there's 2 things I want to point out here. Watch the middle of the screen. This is where Cozart has to be more confident. You see Kent Taylor right there, 81. Throw the ball. The receivers in front of the defender throw the football, and then you see right here, Nick Mears putting the helmet on the football, and then by friendly fire, he just gets trampled on by his own guys. But Nick Mears doing what your coach, get your head across, hit the football, and then DeAndre Banks comes over and just lays the wood on his own quarterback. But it looks like from the sidelines that Cozart's okay.
Lujan looking for it on the first play, but he overshot his man. As we check in once again with Christian Steckel.
Well, guys, Montel Cozart is here on the bench, and he's working on his left hip. It looks like his lower left abdomen, maybe his left lower rib cage. But he's got the headset on. He's talking to coordinator Rob Likens up in the booth. Looks like he'll be back in this game.
From what we understand, the next option would be DeAndre Ford, a junior college transfer from Dodge City Community College. But they do have a couple of true freshmen as well that they're not afraid to burn red shirts here at KU, especially at the skill positions. If they need a player rebuilding, he's coming in. Mangarelli's pass, or Mangarelli catches the pass, slips through, and he's got himself his second touchdown of the football game. This one from 29 yards out. And the lead grows again for South Dakota State.
It's just been all blocking for South Dakota State's offense. It's just a simple swing pass to your running back. You get Marquise Roberts, number 5 for Kansas on the ground. He's pursuing. That's the only guy. And then you get a chop block on the outside. Get another defender on the ground. If you've got too many defenders on the ground, I mean, obviously, there's nobody there to tackle the ball carrier. So the blocking for South Dakota State has been awesome all day long.
Extra point will make it 31-7 in favor of South Dakota State, as it has been all about the big plays here today. First, the interception, which went the other way for 60 yards. Didn't wind up in the end zone, but it set up a 25-yard strike from Brady Mangarelli just a couple of plays later. That was when the game turned, we thought. But then all of a sudden, Ryan Shadler, a 91-yard kick return on the ensuing kick. And it was a 10-7 game. But then the big plays, they opened up again. Touchdown pass to Jake Wieneke. And then, of course, the beauty to Wieneke in the back corner of the end zone. Getting not just 1 foot in, but 2. And then, of course, the play that we just saw. Little swing pass over to Mangarelli. And a 29-yard strike goes to put 31 points on the board for South Dakota State. And we've only played a few minutes here in the second quarter. The Jackrabbits, they do what they do. John Stiegelmeier, in his 19th season, he talks about mastery. He wants his players to do the same thing over and over again so well that they are masters of it, and they take thinking completely out of the equation.
Well, that's just playing a reaction football. When you know your assignment, your job so well that you don't have to think when the ball is snapped. You can just execute and react to what's going on, and that's what he's doing with this program. These guys are playing at a high level.
Tomorrow, it's a special edition of college football on Fox Sports 1 as the Purdue Boilermakers take on the Marshall Thundering Herd. Coverage begins at 2:30 Eastern, 11:30 Pacific on your home for college football all season long, Fox Sports 1, and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. It is not Montel Cozart. It is the true freshman Ryan Willis now onto the field for the Kansas Jayhawks. And he will throw an incomplete pass on his first attempt, looking for the tight end, Kent Taylor. He's 6'4", 211 pounds, from Overland Park, Kansas. And they expected him to compete for the backup job with DeAndre Ford. And if you look at the official depth chart provided by KU, DeAndre Ford is, in fact, listed as the backup, but they're getting the freshman some reps here, and he underthrows Bobby Hartzog at a quick 0-for-2 start, and it'll be 3rd and 10. And he's coming off the field. And Montel Cozart is back in. So a couple of quick incomplete passes. And now Cozart will face a rush on an obvious passing down. Pressure. And now space for Cozart. And he's going to tuck it again, reaching for the first down, and they're going to give it to him. Number 2. Nice job by Cozart to get 12. He reached out with the football before getting out of bounds.
Well, you see that deceptive speed that they talked about with us in meetings. That you guys don't realize how athletic this kid is. Once he gets out in space, with such a long stride, he can really cover some ground.
Connects here with Ben Johnson, who gets out across the 40-yard line. TJ Lally makes the tackle. Lally's finished first or second on the team in tackles in each of his 3 seasons now. In his 3rd year as a starting middle linebacker, and the 2nd year as a captain. Pass complete to Bobby Hartzog. Had to go down and get it. And he's got a first down at midfield. First catch for Hartzog today. First catch of Hartzog's career. Didn't have one last year as a freshman. Now we're starting to see the tempo pick up as well. Cozart will dive through and pick up 4. They talk about Cozart's speed, but trying to use it is the problem they've had with him. They had it last year. He was replaced by Michael Cummings after 1/2 into Clint Bowen's tenure. Charlie Weiss had Cozart as the starter. Bowen took over in week 5. Cummings came in to start the second half in Bowen's first game after things did not go well for Montel Cozart. Cozart trying to get away. This is a broken play, and he is tripped up right at the line of scrimmage. This quarterback issue has been going on a long time here at KU. Look at the names. 6 consecutive years they started a different quarterback in week 1 of the season. And it stops this year, but Ben, we've talked about Michael Cummings' injury in the spring game. If Cummings is healthy, it may be 7 straight years in which they had a different starting quarterback.
Well, that's still hard to go into a young high school kid who's a receiver, running back, and say, hey, come to our program. You know, we can really make you blossom and really make you a playmaker. I think to look at a stat like that, that's a hard sell. They've had a lot of guys come through here. Nobody's been solid and consistent. So, you know, maybe with this new offense, they can go out and find a guy that can fit into the system and maybe can be the guy for 2 or 3 years.
They quickly go for it on 4th and 1, and they punch it through. A gain of 5. DeAndre Mann getting the last 2 plays in his hands. Was able to pick up the first down, and they give it back to him again, and he takes a hard hit. DeAndre Mann battled concussions last year as one of their injury problems with Michael Cummings. See the torn ACL in the spring game, but look at his numbers last year. He had 4 rushing touchdowns for KU. And that's of note because Kansas does not return a single player that scored a touchdown for him last year. Slipping away here was Steve Sims. They bring him down after just a couple of yards. Think about that for a second. 2014 season ends. 2015 season begins. No one on the current roster scored a touchdown last season for KU. He threw a few, but he did not actually run into the end zone. None of their running backs did. None of their wide receivers caught one that are still on the roster here today.
You talk about loss of production. I mean, nobody's even touched the end zone, so they've got a lot to rebuild here, and they have to. That's what they're trying to do in this game. Who's going to be our playmakers? Is it going to be our quarterback? Rob Likens said, I will adapt this system, even though it's the quote-unquote air raid. I will adapt this system to whatever quarterback I have in his skill set. He has to find who the quarterback's going to be. He's got to find who the receivers are going to be, starting a true freshman out there. And they got to figure out if they can run the football. So there's a lot of unknowns even as they go through this football game.
They're about to go for it on 4th down again. It'll be the 3rd time today they go for it on 4th down. 2nd time on this drive. They're 2 for 2 so far. And they give it to Kinner. And he got it. They mark him at the 25-yard line. A 1st down. The drive continues for KU, whose offense has still not put any points on the board. Remember, the 7 they have is from a 91-yard kick return. And Kinner couldn't do much there. He was immediately gobbled up by Cole Langer, making his 21st consecutive start here today. Dropped him for a loss of 1.
And I've been waiting to call Cole Langer's name because he is a dominant force on this defensive front for South Dakota State. He's only played defensive tackle for 3 years, didn't play it in high school, and he's really blossomed into one of the best in Missouri Valley Conference.
Didn't like what he had, so he'll go again. He takes another hard hit after crossing the 20. This time it was Cody Haslett, the junior, who put the hit on him. One thing Rob Likens did say yesterday is that he wanted to see Montel Cozart take a hit. He preferred it to be on the right side of the line of scrimmage as opposed to the wrong for his team. But he wants to see how he bounces back. He has changed his body a little bit. A little misdirection here. Trey Parmalee winds up with the ball in his hands, and Parmalee is into the end zone. Nice block by Bobby Hartzog. Trey Parmalee punches it in from 19 yards out. And KU's offense contributing today.
For KU, that's the drive that you wanted to see. At some point in time, they're going to have to grind something out. They went for it on 4th down. They have a trick play. Whatever it takes, you want to see that offense score a touchdown. So it took a lot. Took some good blocking up front. Again, a trick play, but they finally got in the end zone. Maybe that's something they need for this offense to build some confidence.
Right through on the extra point. And the complexion of the game has changed, at least slightly, here at Memorial Stadium in Kansas, as capping off a 75-yard drive that KU's offense, really for the first time, starting to look like they want KU's offense to look like.
Well, sometimes it just takes some trickeration. I want you to see big Larry Mazik, 6'8", 335 pounds with the key block. That's what springs him. They got everybody flowing to the right. They come back to the left, and big 6'8" Larry Mazik gets his body down to make the key block. And that's what you need if you're KU. They need to build some confidence with this offense. It can't just be special teams scoring points.
Isaac Wallace took it from the goal line and got back out to about the 23. Let's go to Jenny Taft in Los Angeles for a game break.
Brendan, thanks. How about Northwestern hosting number 21 Stanford? Clayton Thorson making his Northwestern debut. Going to do this one all alone. 42-yard score. Northwestern up 10-3 at half. Brendan, Ben, back to you guys.
Thank you, Jenny. Brendan Burke, Ben Lieber, Christian Steckel with you from Memorial Stadium here in Kansas. Not bad for the Jackrabbits, taking on an FBS opponent. They've never beaten an FBS opponent in 7 tries, all of them against Big 12 competition. Their lead is 31-14. And Kansas has yet to prove that they can stop this offense led by Zach Lujan, Brady Mangarelli, and maybe most notably Jake Winicky. Just a couple on first down. Courtney Arnick on the stop. It's the linebacking position for KU, replacing guys like Ben Heaney, Michael Reynolds, Victor Simmons, Jake Love. There's a lot to replace on the defensive side of the ball for KU.
And they're going to need those new guys to step up, because as important as that last series was for this offense, this series right here for the defense is the most important in the game so far.
On 2nd and 8, Isaac Wallace moves it forward a couple of yards. 3rd down coming up. Nice job by Damani Mosby on the tackle. Another one of those newcomers. Redshirt junior. Transfer from Mesa Community College. 3rd and 6. The crowd alive here in Lawrence. It'll be 4th down.
That's a huge stop for this defense. They need to see how this team was going to respond. Your offense finally goes down, gets the ball in the end zone, and now you have to respond and step up. And what has been otherwise, you've been getting your teeth knocked in in the trenches from this offensive line of South Dakota State. You finally stepped up, got him in 3rd and long. Crossing routes didn't work out, and now you're going to get the ball back after a 3-and-out.
And with less than 6 minutes remaining in the 2nd quarter, we introduce you to Brady Hale. He is the true freshman punter. And this is his first punt of the day, and it is sending Trey Parmalee way back inside his own 20. And he's knocked down at the 15. Kyle Parris made the tackle. Montel Cozart fumbled the football, knocked out of the game for a couple of plays, but he came back in, led his team down the field, throwing. 14, let's take a look at our Academy Sports Right Stuff key players so far for Kansas. And one way or the other, the key player was going to be Montel Cozart. 9 of 13 for 82 yards. Threw an interception and has fumbled the football. Those are the 2 black marks on his day so far. A little spin move here for Keon Kinner. gets him a yard.
Well, and that last drive was big for him. He wasn't super accurate, but for him to drive this offense down, for the guys, those other 10 guys to look at him in the huddle and feel like they've got some confidence, that's big for this offense and big for him.
Bobby Hartzog able to come up and get it. And he's pulled out of bounds right at the first down marker, which is at the 26. And that will move the chains. Kozar will change things up here. Kinner got hit out close to the 30. Ben, coming into this game, we didn't know, and neither did South Dakota State, exactly what KU's offense was going to look like, with David Beatty being the new head coach, coming in from Texas A&M. Rob Likens coming in as the new offensive coordinator. Was at Cal with Sonny Dykes. Now we're starting to get a little bit of a look at it as Kozar's pass is complete. And nearing another first down, maybe a little bit short. They will actually give him the first down. Another catch for Bobby Hartzog. But your impression so far of the offense that KU has run here in the first half?
Well, you can tell just by the way, the air raid, I think a lot of people think it's always hurry up. Now, for these guys right now, it's no huddle. They want to get lined up. They look to the sidelines. They get the play. They come back. So as a defense, you are getting a chance to catch your breath and get lined up. So South Dakota State's starting to realize that they don't have to panic as much between plays. But so far, these last two series, I like the fact that Kozar is getting in a rhythm. You can tell his passes are more crisp. They're more accurate, delivering the football when it should get out. Early on in the game, he missed some throws, was hesitant. I think the early interception made him a little bit gun-shy, but I think he's worked himself through that, and now you're starting to see a little bit more of a fluid Montel Kozar.
Both Kozar and the coaching staff have talked all offseason about his maturity. Now he has grown as a leader. And he is willing to get those extra yards. Evidence there as he gets it out to the 45, about a yard shy. Will bring up third down. But Kozar during this offseason credits a lot of his improvement to his older brother. Just in talking to him, leading him. He hands it off to Keon Kinner right up the middle. And his speed and stays on his feet will get him a few extra yards. But then as he was wrestled down, the ball popped free. They'll mark him down at the 32-yard line after a 23-yard explosive burst from Keon Kinner.
And that's the type of skill set that you see out of Kinner. When you watch his plays, he's a smaller back, but great feet, great vision. Watch the spin move right there. Sets it up beautifully with a little bit of hesitation with that left foot. Gets the defender to cross over, get his weight shifted. Does a great job of spinning out of it. So Kozar getting more comfortable. Now you're starting to see Kinner get more comfortable as well.
On first down, they feed it to Kinner again. Powers threw for a couple before letting it to TJ Lally. Look at what they have in Keon Kinner. You may not have heard of him, but he has burst on the scene here in the Big 12. But in the junior college scene, he was everything last year. Offensive Player of the Year at the junior college level. And Kozar, the keeper, and Jesse Bobbitt able to stop him after 3 yards.
And you saw in that last big run just this natural ability to feel where the tacklers are going to be, feel the pressure. He uses that spin move quite a bit. Inside the hole, he's got good feet, great vision. They talk about his vision, just his ability to see things that they don't see until they put on the film. So I think they found a special talent, Keon Kinner.
They're able to get it to DeAndre Mann, who stayed on his feet just to take a hard hit. 8 straight completions now for Montel Kozar. You talk about him getting in a rhythm. And a timeout taken by Kansas. Coming up on the Fox College Football Halftime Show, Rob Stone, Matt Leinart, and Dave Wannstedt will discuss who will challenge TCU and Baylor in the Big 12, TCU, Minnesota, and Baylor SMU highlights, and the challenges Josh Rosen will face in his first season as we look ahead to UCLA and Virginia. Well, David Beatty is here in Lawrence in his first game as a head coach, but this is not his first game in Memorial Stadium. This guy is in his third tour of duty with the Kansas Jayhawks. First time was back in 08-09 as the wide receiver coach under Mangino. Left to become the offensive coordinator for David Bailiff over at Rice. Came back in 2011, co-OC, and then left again to go be the wide receiver coach at Texas A&M under Kevin Sumlin. And now is back here as the head coach, taking over for his good friend and current defensive coordinator, Clint Bowen, who was named interim head coach last year after the midseason dismissal of Charlie Rice. 4th down, 3 yards to go for Montel Cozart and the KU offense. Play clock, got it off, and he's looking at the end zone. No catch, looking for Steve Sims, their true freshman playmaker, but just a little bit too far towards the sideline.
You know, I question that call a little bit. It's 4th and 4. You need this possession to put some points on the board. And then you call a deep fade out to your left across the field, a low percentage catch and a low percentage throw. It looked like he had possession. Maybe his right foot got in, but I think it was out of bounds. A little questionable call. I don't know why you don't go for something a little shorter. Just keep the drive going, control that clock, and don't allow South Dakota State another opportunity to put some points on the board before halftime.
Or take the 3 points.
Or take the 3 points. But again, if your decision is to bypass the 3 points, then just go for the first down.
So it is a first down, but it is for South Dakota State. Zach Lujan has some time. He will throw out to midfield, and it is complete. Dallas Goedert, the tight end, and their best pass-catching tight end option. 26 yards, and all of a sudden, as we hit the final minute of the half, South Dakota State is swallowed up back in the backfield. Zach Lujan is sacked. Daniel Wise and Ben Goodman both got there. And a timeout taken by South Dakota State. Well, Ben Goodman, team captain, by far their best leader, got in there on Zach Lujan. But how about Jake Weineke? Remember, this is just the first half. This was the second play. He slipped through a tackle for 60 yards. Wasn't able to put it in. But he would get into the end zone a couple of times today. First one, that one was easy. The second one, the degree of difficulty was up significantly. To the back corner of the end zone with a guy draped all over him. He tapped not just the right foot, but the left foot as well. And Jake Weineke, 5 catches, 125 yards, a couple of touchdowns, and he's averaging 25 yards per catch. 8th career 100-yard game. Yes, he's a sophomore. The other 7 were last season.
Well, I think the thing that's impressive about watching those highlights is he's doing a lot of things on his own. These plays aren't designed to be big plays by themselves. You know, a little hitch route to the outside, but he makes everything else go because he can break tackles. He's such a big target, hard to bring down, going against freshman cornerbacks for this KU defense. So he's surprised, I think, these guys now that he can play football. He can compete with these guys at the FBS level, and he's going to be one to watch for a long time. Keep in mind, he is just a sophomore.
Incomplete pass will make it 3rd and 17. South Dakota State's own 44-yard line.
Down and 17 of the 44.
This time Lujan has time. He's going to his buddy Weineke out there, and he got popped.
Incomplete.
Knocked that ball out of his hands. Smithson and Brandon Stewart were both there, and they might have needed both of them to make sure he didn't make that catch.
Well, that was a great job by Smithson to get over from the safety position. Finally, it's taken almost the whole first half to pay a little bit more attention to number 19, Weineke. Great break, good attempt at going after the football, and is enough to break up the pass. But finally, they're getting some help with the safeties. too often they're leaving the corners out on their own against the 6'4" sophomore receiver. So good defensive series for KU there.
Timeout.
So a timeout taken here before the punt with 42 seconds left here in the first half. Well, it's time for Ben Lieber's player perspective. And Ben, take us through the mindset of a player coming into today from last night. A lot of sleep. I'm assuming a good night's rest. You get up, you eat a meal, and you play some football, right?
I'm sure these guys are so happy that they had an 11 o'clock kick. Not normally do you like an 11 o'clock kick, but keep in mind, it's been 9 months since you've last played. All you've done is hit your other guys, hit other opponents. For Kansas, they have new coaching staff. They're trying to figure everything out in this program, and then after 9 months, you get to the night where you're supposed to be well rested and come out and play with your hair on fire. But a lot of times, the nerves are going, you're anxious, you're excited. You don't get a lot of sleep. So for these guys to have an 11 o'clock kick, they're probably thankful, because if it was a 7 p.m. kick, a lot of these guys would have been up for a long, long time.
So South Dakota State here to punt with 42 seconds left on the clock. A low line drive kick, and it'll duck out right around the 15-yard line. Not exactly your high-hanging kick, but effective the same. It's a 41-yard punt. Take a look at KU. Didn't start well, and it started to turn around a little bit. You look at that last one where they turned it over on downs, but still an 11-play, 59-yard drive to get down the field, following up the touchdown. It is certainly trending in the right direction for KU despite that last turnover.
Yeah, I think they're reeling from that 10-play, 62-yard drive that ended up in an interception. It was a bad interception, a ball that shouldn't have been thrown. I think that had the offense just taken back a little bit. Gun shy from Montel Cozart, but the last 2 series he's really settled in.
Here he's flushed out of the pocket, and he will run out of bounds and get away from Cody Haslett. Did pick up a first down, and the clock is stopped with 29 seconds left on it. Points here at the half would be very important for KU. Cozart again. Flag behind the play as Cozart gets it out to the 40.
It looks like big number 70, Keon Houghton, the center.
Holding. Offense number 70. 10-yard penalty. Still first down.
Anytime you see an offensive lineman with that flag thrown in the backfield with his arms up in the air, pleading with the umpire, it's probably a high likelihood that he was the culprit. You see in the center just snapping the football, keep your eyes on number 70. He had the guy beat. You had him shoved exactly where you need to go. Just let the guys wait, fall down to the ground. No reason to hold on to him and wrangle him down. So that's the part of the holding that they called him on.
And so KU won't have another play here at the end of the first half after the holding penalty. So, Ben, we got a look at KU. We also got a good look at the offense from South Dakota State, but some impressions from that first half of play. Kansas with a late surge at the end of the first half, but it was controlled by South Dakota State for the most part. 31-14 our score here at halftime. And Ben, South Dakota State, they came out like they were in charge today.
Yeah, they really did. You know, we can talk, and we're going to talk more game about Jake Wieneke and the type of game that he's had, but I really think the difference has been the fact that this FCS team has come into this stadium and was the aggressor. Their offensive line and their defensive line playing more physical, winning the game in the trenches, and then their offensive line even getting out on the perimeter and making some key blocks and some key runs and passes. So I thought for the most part their tempo was better, they're more physical, and I think that's been the difference in this game outside of Jake Wieneke.
Let's check in with Christian Stengel, who just had a chance to catch up with head coach of Kansas, David Beaty.
Yeah, guys, I just ran out of the locker room with him here onto the field, and he told me, look, we just have to stop limiting our mistakes. We can't give them anything. Turnovers are killing this game, and we've got to be more productive on first down. He said the other thing that we've got to do is make sure that we're effective getting off the field. I said, how'd you like the tempo in the first half of your offense? He said, well, first, we got to make stops on third down to get our offense back on the field. But when we do, you saw as the game wore on, into the second quarter, we started playing at a faster rhythm, at a faster tempo. That's where I want this team to be. I said, can you come back and get this thing done? He says, we can, but we can't turn the football over. We've got to play great special teams. Fellas?
Well, once again, and I agree. I mean, you got to win special teams with the way they're built right now. But you saw, and I think, and we all saw that going into the second quarter, this offense was clicking. Cozart was getting the ball out quicker. He was being more decisive. He was even more accurate. So I don't know if some of those hits and some of those things that he took in the first quarter kind of just woke him up a little bit, or it's just the conversations on the sideline. But I think there was an increase in tempo and efficiency from this offense, and that's a big positive going here in the second half. They ran the ball much better with Kinner as well.
And KU will get the football here to start the second half, so a chance to cut into this lead that South Dakota State has built. They have never beaten an FBS opponent in 7 tries. They have played an FBS opponent in each of the last 7 years. And head coach John Stiegelmeier said the first year they played Iowa State back in 2008, he spent 9 months building it up, but they came out flat. So this year, he focused on the team starting 1-0, regardless of who the opponent was. But he knows that a win here this afternoon would put South Dakota State on the map. Derek Neal will take a knee in the end zone, and KU will start the second half of the football at the 25-yard line, and we'll see if Montel Cozart can continue the positivity that started back in that first half and take his team down the field. He's making just his 9th career start, but he is taking over for Michael Cummings from last year. As you take a look at the first half of those Kansas drives. A couple of turnovers. They've punted, done everything but try to kick a field goal. So Cozart on first down. Quick pass out to Joshua Stanford, the first time we've called his name today. Transfer from Virginia Tech. He's a junior. They really like him, but Ben, I don't even think they targeted him in the first half.
Yeah, exactly right. They really, really like this transfer from Virginia Tech. He's a big guy, 6'1", 200 pounds, and they thought he's going to fit in this offense perfectly, but that's the first target that we've seen this whole game.
They look right to him again, and look at the hands as he goes up to get it and then slips by for a few more yards. They'll give him all the way to the 44-yard line, 12 yards as they go to Stanford on back-to-back plays.
And if South Dakota State's going to give up that much room on the outside, you're going to take those little 5-yard hitches all day long. Maybe he can make a guy miss and turn it into a big play, but it's been pretty easy to throw the ball right now to Joshua Stanford.
Look in his direction again. Why not? Oh, and he almost got that one, too. Pretty good effort from Joshua Stanford, who as a junior last year took a 4-game leave of absence to address some off-field issue, returned, didn't play much, decided to announce he was leaving the program right after Christmas. He had such a good year as a sophomore, but he's able to graduate and transfer and come here to KU and play immediately. And there's a catch made by Shaq Barbell as he gets the first down for KU. Another guy who we hadn't seen targeted in the first half.
You'll see him here as a number 3 receiver, and this is so positive for KU's offense. Cozart keeping that momentum that I think he carried at the end of the first half. Crisp throws, accurate throws, and just getting the ball out.
Throwing again, spreading it around to Trey Parmalee, who has a touchdown today. And he's knocked out of bounds after another first down. Brian Butler knocked him out. And all of a sudden, KU marching down the field.
So it's nothing special. A lot of just 4-5-yard routes. And again, South Dakota State's given up a whole bunch on the outside with all the space and cushion. Just keep making those throws and catches. Maybe something big will happen.
First and 10 from the 33. They decided to run the ball, and Kinner took a couple of hits, kept on moving. Chase Kern brought him down after a couple of yard gain. Seeing some different personnel on the wide receiving front from KU as well on this first drive. We're seeing guys like Tyler Patrick come in, Barbell, Stanford being targeted a couple of times. And now they throw to the left side for Darius Crowley, tiptoe, sideline, and he couldn't hang on. They mark him out at the 6.
And that's what happens this whole drive. It's been quick hitch, just quick get it out. Try to have the receivers make some plays, and this is what you're talking about. You have to make tackles in open field. 2 missed tackles there, and Crowley's able to take it down to the 5-yard line and see if they can punch it in for the first score of the second half.
It's a 25-yard catch. That's the 3rd different receiver to make his first catch of the game on this opening drive of the second half. Time for Cozart. Does he have an option? Pumps, and he'll get to the 3. Chased out of bounds by Drew Kreitzfeld. And we'll get another chance for Cozart to try and punch it in.
Well, the thing I liked about Cozart's decision on that particular play was he had a guy coming across the middle, but he saw the fact that they're sitting in a zone coverage. The linebackers are sitting there, and it was smart for him to pull that ball down and try to make something out of nothing.
He will hand it to Kinner. Touchdown! First KU touchdown for Keon Kinner. And Kansas, pending the extra point, will be down by 10 here after the opening drive of the second half. Nick Bartolota. And it's a 10-point game just like that. KU knew they had to come out and put points on the board, and they made it look relatively easy. Right down the field, 75 yards.
Yeah, I'm just going to take the easy route. It's a 4 or 5-yard route. Let the receiver do some work, and that just builds efficiency. He looked quick. He was accurate, and the offense looks like it's turning right now.
Isaac Wallace from the 3. He is met hard. Cameron Rosser. The big hit on the kick return of 19 yards. Let's check in with Christian Steckel. Christian?
Well, guys, in his first 15 years at the helm, the Jackrabbits never won more than 8 games under John Stiegelmeier. In the past 3 seasons, they've won 9 each campaign. The head coach attributes 4 FCS playoff appearances in the last 6 years to a team that plays unselfish football. Coach Stig told us this week that before every practice, each player finds a teammate, shakes their hand, and commits to play every snap as hard as he can. He said, we don't talk about an FBS win, we talk about being 1-0, but we know a win today puts us on the national map.
Zach Lujan has put himself on the map, and so is Winicky here in this football game. There is a flag down, but the pass was complete out to the 37-yard line. 15 yards if it stands from Lujan to Winicky.
Personal foul. Hands in the face. Defense number 96. 15-yard penalty. First down.
So the chains move either way.
And you're going to see right here the athletic defensive tackle on Daniel Wise just gets his hands up into the face mask right there. It's that final right-handed punch that goes up and under the face mask. That's what he got called for, but they really like this freshman, 6'3", 280 pounds from Louisville, Texas. He is super athletic. He can get to the quarterback. He just has to have the opportunity to do it.
So that penalty moves them all the way down to the 48 of KU. They hand it to Mangarelli. A yard. Courtney Arnick on the tackle.
And this is the time for the defense, not that you want to, stress yourself out about it, put yourself out of position, but a turnover right now would be so key for their momentum of the team. Offense went down, scored. Their defense, it's nice to get a stop, but if you can get a takeaway, really flip the momentum and put South Dakota State on their heels, then you really have something you can close off this 10-point deficit.
Steps up and he overshoots Trevor Wesley.
Number 80, Trevor Wesley.
Marquise Roberts was in coverage, a guy who has joined this team from South Carolina. as a graduate transfer and still has 2 years of eligibility left. They're very high on him, helping out this KU linebacker corps. 3rd and 8 is coming up.
Once again, the two guys to watch out for, 19 and 80, Winicky and Wesley for South Dakota State.
Winicky's at the bottom of your screen. And no one is going to catch a pass here. Dorrance Armstrong, the true freshman who they bring in on passing downs for that exact situation, gets his first sack.
You're going to see him right up here on the top of the screen. He's a situational rusher. They said he loves his hands, his slipperiness about him. 6'4", 225-pound guy that is a true freshman that can really grow into his body. You saw the handwork right there to get around the tackle. You need a big stop. They bring in the situational rusher, and Armstrong gets the sack.
He's out of North Shore High School in Houston, Texas, and a lot see him as the most talented recruit in this class. Fair catch at the 15 from Trey Parmalee, a 36-yard punt. So KU and Montel Kozar get the ball back on the last drive to start the second half. Kozar made it look easy. A couple of quick passes out to Josh Stanford. Moved the ball down the field on a drive that started at the 25-yard line. And just methodically worked his way all the way towards the end zone. Spread the ball around as well. We saw Barbell make a catch, and then Darius Crowley, after Parmalee made that catch, Kinner got a chance to run. And this was the big play. Crowley on the sideline, slipping through a tackle. Couldn't tiptoe that sideline, and it was punched in by Keon Kinner, who's on the sidelines right now. DeAndre Mann is in the backfield with Kozar. Kozar scrambling again. Throws a bullet out of bounds. Looking for Joshua Stanford again. We have seen Kozar on the run. And he does a good job to sell that he's going to run, and he's pulled it back and thrown a couple of passes, not always 100% accurate. But he puts some zip on that one. This time he stays in the pocket and finds his man in stride. Crowley down the sideline and into Jackrabbit territory. Pass complete to number 12. 39-yard catch and run for Crowley.
And with all the quick passing they've done here in the second half, you're not asking your line to really hold up too much. That particular play, this crossing route as a #1 receiver, takes more time. Good job of the offensive line holding up, and good patience by Kozar to deliver the accurate pass. It's the first real big play that KU's had on offense.
You see KU again get to the line of scrimmage, get set up, and then look to the play for the sideline. And Kozar slings one over this time. It's in and out of the hands of Joshua Stanford.
Pass is incomplete, intended for number 6. Joshua Stanford.
Stanford, 40 catches, 640 yards, and a touchdown in 2013, playing at Virginia Tech. Injured his knee as a freshman, had a medical red shirt that year, but he was playing for Virginia Tech as a freshman. Now he's playing for Kansas, and he's had an impact here in the second half. Kozar will take off to the 35, and a little room, and he'll duck out of bounds. Nick Farina chased him out. He needed one more block from Tyler Patrick, who lost his footing trying to set it. 20-yard gain, another big play for Montel Kozar and KU.
And he was looking down the middle of the field, but Jesse Bobbitt, the linebacker, took away the #3 receiver. It's a great opportunity for him to tuck it and run.
3 receivers at the top. And this one cannot be hauled in by Ben Johnson, the tight end. TJ Lally, the linebacker, was lined up against him. Johnson is somewhat of a local product from Basehor, Kansas, about 25 miles northeast of Lawrence. Tight ends are a big part and will be a big part of this offense for Kansas as the season goes along. Kinner with some green in front of him. Kinner to the end zone. Touchdown, Kansas. He He's hard to bring down. A 26-yard touchdown as Kinner slipped past Banasiak and Farina on his way in. And Kansas is right back in this football game.
Well, take a look. You get a chance to see here in a little bit what I'm talking about. But that offensive line led by Larry Mazik, number 78, had a key block on the reverse touchdown run early in the first half. Once again, the big 6'8", 335-pound guy just mashing down the defensive end. That's what sprung the ball carrier.
On Kinner, capping an 85-yard drive that didn't take very long at all, just 65 seconds off the clock. And so KU will trust their defense again to get them the football back as they'll kick this one away and out of bounds. A mistake by Wyman. So it'll be good field position for South Dakota State.
Kickoff out of bounds. Kicking team. Ball will be placed on the 35-yard line. First down.
Once again, let's go to Los Angeles with Jenny Taft for a game break. Jenny?
Thanks, Brendan. Rutgers hosting Norfolk State. Opening kickoff of the second half. You got to see this. Junior Janarian Grant is going to take this 80 yards for the touchdown. The Scarlet Knights now running away with this one. It's 42-13 in the third. Brendan, back to you in Lawrence.
Thank you, Jenny. Here at Memorial Stadium, South Dakota State's lead is down to 3. Zach Lujan pumps, lofts one out there, and a little bit too far, looking for Dallas Goddard. Tevin Shaw, a nice job in coverage. So we go back to that last touchdown for KU.
Well, take a look right here. I talked about Larry Mazik, just how big he is. Gets a key block on the defensive tackle, and as they run that little replay, just too much space because of Mazik's block down, mash down the defensive tackle. You get a guy like Kinner with that speed, he can hit that hole quickly, and it's over. 21 unanswered points for the Kansas Jayhawks.
Runs so fast the letters are coming off his name. Here's Mangarelli trying to make something happen. Had about 3 chances to bring him down. On the fourth, they finally get him a 9-yard pickup on second down. Now a little tempo here for Lujan and the Jackrabbits. Mangarelli will not be denied. Bouncing off the pile, picking up the first down as he brings it out to the 48-yard line, nearing midfield. South Dakota State likes to run the football. And Mangarelli has proved that he is the guy. Lujan will go to the air. Good coverage that time. Tyrone Miller, the true freshman, came across and knocked the ball out of the hands of Connor Landberg.
Early in the game, they were picking on Miller with Winicky. That time, Miller had a great break on that slant. Good job of getting your head across and breaking up that pass.
He said Miller, as a true freshman, looked like a veteran from day one. This is a kid out of Ann Arbor, Michigan, that it offers from Ball State, Bowling Green, Buffalo, Central Michigan, Toledo, Western Michigan. He was one. That ball is overthrown. Looking for Landberg again, and Tyrone Miller in coverage.
Here comes the rush specialist, 46, Durance Armstrong, who got the sack the last time. Let's see if he can back it up. Is exactly what you want if you're a defense for KU. 2 big stops on first and second down. Get third and long. Bring in your situational guys. Get the crowd into it. See if they get another key stop back to back.
Mosby, Armstrong, Wise, and Goodman. The 4 guys up front. And they're coming again, and they're bringing help. This time they go to the sidelines, and a high pass overthrown, and KU's going to get the football back. There was pressure again. They brought Skylar Miles for the linebackers as well, and the pass was off the target.
They chipped on Armstrong up top, putting 2 guys on his pass rush. It allowed Daniel Wise up the middle, number 96, to get some pressure. And they've got Lujan a little rattled here. A lot of inaccurate passes, some high passes. You can feel this pressure that Clint Bowen's putting on this offense. A high but short punt. It takes
A Jackrabbit bounce, but only slightly before ducking out of bounds at the 18-yard line. Kansas offense in the second half has been a different animal. Keon Kinner into the end zone twice, and they have the football when we come back. Texas Tech, and then later tonight, Georgia Southern takes on West Virginia to complete our triple header coverage today. Boy, is it good to have football back.
Like I said, the open, man, you can sit on your couch all day long today and watch college football.
Just lose the remote. Here's Kozar on 1st and 10, and his pass is batted down. Cole Langer able to get a big paw up and on it, knock that pass down. Well, the next game you'll see Sam Houston State, Texas Tech.
Well, you got to see if Patrick Mahomes is the big gunslinging guy with the big arm that they hoped he can be after stepping in from last year to run that offense at Texas Tech. Defense has to get much better. And West Virginia's going to showcase one of the best safety tandems in the league. They have an outstanding corner as well, but I think a lot of running the football because that's all Georgia Southern does. So a lot of things to learn from those two teams today.
You mean to tell me a team coached by Dana Holgorsen and you're going to point out the secondary? Really?
Well, they have some question marks at quarterback. They're going to run the ball a lot, but I think the highlight is going to be those guys in the secondary.
Spoken like a true linebacker.
Yep.
Kozar just getting rid of it. And he barely had enough time to get rid of it. Now he's picking himself up off the grass. Kellen Sulik was in his grill, and he'll bring up 4th down. Well, it looked like two different teams out here in the second half, Ben. But they're on that 3 and out. South Dakota State a little more muscle behind them.
Yeah, and KU is actually not going to go for it on 4th down here. So
that's true. They're 3 for 4 today. It's just the second time they've punted. But 4th and 6 from your own 22.
Yeah, I kid. They've gone for it 4 times already. This is the right situation where you punt.
But a bad snap, scooped up nicely. And Eric Kahn able to get the kick off, and it'll bounce all the way to the 40-yard line. Could have been a disaster, but they get it all the way down to the South Dakota State 40. Let's go once again. Jenny Taft in L.A. for a game break. Jenny?
Well, Brendan, Ole Miss has been dominating all day against Tennessee Martin. Take a look at this. 93 yards on the return for Trey Elston. It's 55-0. Ole Miss starting their season off right. They're home against Fresno State next week. Back to you guys.
Not a bad way to start. 55 rip.
Not a bad way to start at all.
You're going to see a few scores look like that today. We don't have one of those here. Just a 3-point ball game, middle stages, 3rd quarter. And Mengarelli right up the gut. Marking down the 46, Isaac Wallace on the carry. Getting 6 yards. And we talked to Coach Stiegelmeier, offensive coordinator, guides us on the simple question of how do you replace a guy like Zach Zenner, the 3rd leading rusher in the history of the FCS. As that ball is complete to the outside for Landberg, and a 1st down for the Jackrabbits. 6,548 yards was the number put up by Zenner in his 3 seasons. Carried the ball 300 or more times in each of his final 3 seasons. That is a lot to replace, and he said, listen, you can't do it with one guy. We don't have another Zach Zenner, so we're going to have to do it with a stable of guys. And so far, Mengarelli and Wallace have been the 1-2 punch, and they've done what they've wanted to do on offense, running the football. And you see the numbers there for Lujan lately. And he connects with his guy there, Jake Winicky. That is his 7th catch of the afternoon. Just to put into perspective the amount of yards picked up by Zach Zenner. This is all of NCAA Division I for the last 2 seasons. You ever heard of those other 2 guys, Ben?
Maybe. Those guys are pretty good, but Zach, I mean, that just puts in perspective, the production that he had for this offense and just how good he was. I mean, you watch film on him, and he is a straight-ahead runner, but his one-cut ability to make people miss because of his size is so surprising. He's got some suddenness to him, and really he's been the talk of this whole Detroit Lions training camp. And he's one of these young guys that we just have to keep an eye on.
Isaac Wallace, another carry and a 1st down, but a late flag coming in after a 10-yard pickup. This one may be coming back.
result of the play is a first down. After the play was over, they had both personal foul, late hit. Offense number 61, 15-yard penalty, first down.
So they get the first down, and then they march it back after Dylan Sider came in late on offense.
See him at the bottom of your screen, number 61. Plays dead, plays down. Yeah, you can't do that.
And now he's on the sidelines. They've taken him out of the game. Travis Zimmerman take his spot at left guard. I mean, that's a senior who started all 14 games last year doing something like that in a three-point game. Give it to Wallace again. Wallace gets out to the 40, going back to center. Ben, I know there were a few people at home looking at their screen. We're comparing him to Melvin Gordon and Amir Abdul and those guys groaning and going, yeah, it's an FCS school. Who cares? The dude is killing it in an NFL training camp and is about to maybe make his NFL debut here in the next couple of weeks.
I'm actually surprised that he didn't get drafted. He was too. He is that special of a talent. I don't care at what level, and he's proven it, and good for him. You know, he's proven that he can play not only in the FCS, but would have played in the FBS. He's proven that he can play in the NFL too.
On 2nd and 6, loads the time, and he takes it going to Wesley, and he could not haul it in. Off the fingertips. That Glatzik in coverage, but that was about the hands of Trevor Wesley.
Well, he's calling for the ball right away. He realizes the coverage they're in. The corner doesn't get back fast enough. Glatzik has to sink, because he's coming up on him awfully quick. Knew the route, knew what to expect, just off the fingertips.
Well thrown, but just a couple of inches too far out in front of him. 3rd and 6. Pressure coming. Oh, what a hit! And it's picked off nearly by Glatzik, but Lujan got his helmet knocked completely off. Just an unblocked rush on the quarterback by Joe Dineen Jr. And he delivered a devastating hit on Lujan.
They just bring an X-blitz with the linebackers, and he just crushes him. Wow.
Threw that ball up for grabs. It'll bring up 4th down as it was almost... Joe Dineen Jr. Local boy, as they call him. He's from Lawrence High School, and he delivered
that's one of those like 8x10 pictures you get blown up and you'll keep for a really long time.
Back on the field, though, South Dakota State facing a 4th and 6, and Lujan has picked his helmet up, put the chin strap on a little tighter, and he takes the snap. Throws a bullet to Winicky, and a first down completed between Winicky and Lujan, and the drive continues for South Dakota State.
Well, that was just a pretty play. Lujan had to put it in the right spot because Brandon Stewart didn't have terrible coverage. Winicky once again wins inside. Lujan delivers a strike, and it was accurate. So it's special when these guys are clicking. Watching the big sophomore receiver work.
Two receivers both at the top. They hand it off to Wallace instead with a cutback. And he runs right into Tyrone Miller after a 7-yard gain. Wallace has been important. We saw a lot of Mangarelli in the first half. We've seen an ample amount of Wallace here in the second. That was the 14th carry by Wallace compared to just 8 for Mangarelli. The yardage, 63 for Wallace, 62 for Mangarelli. As Wallace still in the backfield. And now a 3-receiver set. Pressure coming. He got rid of it to Wallace out of the backfield, and he's dragged out of bounds by the heels. Joe Dineen Jr. again in on the tackle. And the pressure was coming from Brandon Stewart. Forced Lujan to get rid of the ball quickly. Left him with just a 2-yard gain. It'll bring up 3rd and 1.
And they're bringing in their heavy package. Shafransky, number 64, comes in. Bring another big body, take a receiver off.
A couple of defensive linemen, Landon Schultz, Cole Langer, are both in his block. Third and 1. They run in that direction. And look at Wallace fighting for it. And he has the first down. If they were able to stop him on first contact, he wouldn't have gotten there.
Well, and I think that's been the theme this whole game for KU's defense. They've looked much better. They settled down after the first quarter. But you can see here, you know it's going to be a run play. It's a direct snap to the running back. It's all these first contact misses for Kansas's defense. If they could just bring down the ball carriers on first contact, this would be a different game right now. But credit to South Dakota State's running game and their ball carriers breaking tackles, but that's an area where they need to improve.
Mangarelli to the right side. He's able to step his way down inside the 10-yard line. Fish-Smithson on the tackle. 4-yard gain. 2nd and 6 upcoming. In terms of the red zone, Jackrabbits gotten in twice, put points on the board twice. Another handoff here to Wallace. Maybe a couple. They're going with 3 running backs on the field the last few plays. You've got Mangarelli, Wallace, and the junior Kyle Paris. The coaching staff said was the most improved of all the backs during camp, even though he's maybe not at the top of the depth chart. But Paris and Mangarelli are now off, and they'll bring in a couple of receiving options in the tight end Cam Jones and Dallas Goddard.
Winicke's on the bottom of your screen. Watch him.
Looking in his direction, not open, goes the other side of the field and overshoots Connor Landberg. You could tell options A, B, and C were to Winicke.
And he had him beat up top, too. Had that ball been a little bit more accurate, I think he felt that clock in his head. I got to get this ball out. He rushed that throw. But Connor Landberg with the nice little pivot back outside had some separation. But you can see clearly he wanted to go to Winicke. He's been going to him all game long. Missed opportunity right there for South Dakota State.
So 4th and 3, you're going to have to bring out Jay Carlson for a 24-yard attempt. And it is good. And South Dakota State stops the bleeding after 21 straight points from Kansas. A field goal on the board spans the lead to 6 for the Jackrabbits. On this first Saturday of college football, we continue after this game with Sam Houston State visiting Texas Tech. And then later tonight, Georgia Southern taking on West Virginia to complete our triple header coverage today. With our producer Chris Withers, our director Greg Breckel, Brendan Burke, Ben Lieber, Christian Steckel with you from Memorial Stadium in Lawrence, Kansas. South Dakota State Jackrabbits, an FCS school from Brookings, South Dakota, has a 6-point lead over KU in the first game for head coach David Beatty in his third tour of duty as a member of the KU coaching staff. Now he's got the big office and hoping to keep it for a while, which has been something that has been extremely hard to do here in Kansas. They have run through their head coaches after Mangino was removed. In came Turner Gill, which led to Charlie Weiss, which led to Clint Bowen on an interim basis last year for the last 8 games.
On and on.
And this is just since Mangino left for the 2010 season. The only thing they've had more than head coaches around here is quarterbacks. As they'll bring it out to the 25 here with just over a minute to go in the third quarter. Boy, the second half has been a different football game, Ben.
Well, they picked up some momentum. They really calmed down in the second quarter. They went into halftime, and they really came out with their hair on fire. A bunch of quick passes, got more into a rhythm. Kozar was accurate, and then he started feeding Kenner, get some good blocking up front, and all of a sudden now this is a very, very good ball game. They're going to get another chance here in this third quarter, see if they can put some points on the board. But right now, you got to be real happy with KU's offense and the way they bounce back.
So KU will start from the 25, and Kinner will get him close to the 30 on first down. Kellen Sulik on the tech. Guy from Freeman, South Dakota. You got a spot in your heart for South Dakotans, don't you?
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Is that right, South Dakotans? Did I say that?
I think you said it right.
First down on the pass complete to Steve Sims. True freshman. We've talked about a lot of the receiving threats on the South Dakota State side. Steve Sims is the guy they have high hopes for, and I don't want to say for the future. For right now, he's one of their main guys, and he's a true freshman starting here in week 1.
Well, it just speaks volumes when you're a true freshman. You come into camp in the spring, and they're like, yeah, you're going to be running with the ones right away. I mean, they see some special talent out of him, as we see some nifty moves right now.
Special talent
by Kinner, but
Kinner.
Two pretty explosive guys potentially for this Kansas offense. We've seen a lot of Kinner already today, catching the football now, but Steve Sims Jr., the freshman out of Houston, Texas, they're really hoping that he can be the playmaker outside.
It's just another 21-yard pickup for Keon Kinner. And now they look for Kinner again, this time out of the backfield, and as he tried to corral that one, he was popped by Jesse Bobbitt. As Keon Kinner, look at the moves.
Wait, to talk about his vision and his ability to stop and start and his quick footwork, just dragging those toes with the balance and getting a stiff arm. I mean, the guy, for obvious reasons that you see there, is the junior college offensive player of the year, and he's taking his talents now here to Kansas.
They're going to hand it off to Ryan Shadler, his first carry of the game, but not his first play of the game where he's made an impact. He's the one that ran back a kick 91 yards back in the first quarter, and he does that to end our third quarter here. It looked like all Jackrabbits at halftime. KU has come roaring back. It is just a 6-point game after a solid third quarter by the KU offense. Defense holds up as well. Don't go anywhere. We've got our
Finding Neverland. Tickets available at Ticketmaster.
Start of the fourth quarter here between Kansas and South Dakota State. KU with the football on the 39-yard line. Cozart's going to advance that. Stopped just shy of a first down after a 9-yard pickup. Stopped by Cole Langer. Well, we talked about the game changing in the third quarter. Here are the numbers from just the third quarter. 200 yards. Nearly 9 yards per play, and of course the most important numbers. KU outscored South Dakota State 14-3 during the third quarter. They need a yard, reaching for it, and it'll be close. Landon Schultz made the stop, but did he make it quickly enough? First down.
You can see the offense before they even snap the ball. They feel the urgency. They want to go. They're saying, let's go, let's go, let's go. Let's hurry this thing up. Luckily, they got the first down. They want to keep this momentum. They can feel it. As a player, you can feel this energy that you have on your side.
Previous play is under further review. Rolling on the field as a result of the first down.
As we took that last look at it, where was the ball is the question. Because his head is right about where the first down marker was, but he's not exactly lunging forward with the ball. When is he down? He doesn't ever get that arm extended. It's in his right arm. Pulls it out there at the end. It'll be close. But again, the rolling on the field is a first down, which may come into play.
It'll be in his left arm the whole time. About the 31-yard line is where the sticks are. move it back a little bit, but it looks like, at least from that angle, football a bit better.
After further review, the ruling on the field stands. First down.
And I think that's, to your point, Brendan, is the right call. You'll see in the left arm, it's kind of hidden.
It's right about eye level.
It's right about eye level, and it looks like that's the right call. Even if you don't give him that extra little effort of getting the ball out there, I think he had the first down.
So Kansas keeps the football at the 31 of the Jackrabbits. Cozart to pass. Maybe. He's going to tuck it and run, and he avoids a big hit. Ball carrier Jerian Butler was hunting him down. No gain on the play.
Well, I think that's the area of concern right now for Montel Cozart. As much as you like to see him getting better throughout this game, where he has to get much better is breaking down the actual defense. If the first read is not there, understand this offense, where guys are supposed to be versus the defense that he's going against, and making that second to third progression that's really going to open this offense up. So you're starting to see that. If the guys are covered, first of all, he doesn't know where to go, so he just runs.
Right up the middle again, spinning, still on his feet, down to the 16-yard line. We have seen some flashes from Keon Kinner. Nowhere to go that time. Kansas was actually late on recruiting Keon Kinner, despite him being the National Junior College Player of the Year. You would think everybody was all over him, but the weekend KU found out about him. He was on his way to Iowa for a visit. It looked like that's where he was going to go. But Pat Resby, who was a defensive back with KU back in 2008, now coaching at Navarro, made the connection, called the coaching staff here at KU, and the rest is history. Over the middle to DeAndre Mann. And the Jayhawks are in business. It'll be first and goal. From the 6-yard line. And Kinner still on his feet, pushing the pile. Give him a couple of yards.
Now this is the area that you always look for your big targets. We see Kent Taylor, number 81, checking into the ball game. They want to find some big bodies, and Rob Likens, offense coordinator, said, I didn't have the big bodies in Cal. I want to use my tight ends. Well, now is the time to start using your big tight ends.
2nd and 4. To the end zone. Jump ball for Kent Taylor. Out of bounds. A 6'5", 220-pound transfer from Florida tried to haul this one in.
And just like I thought, you see him come right into the football game, and they target him right away, one-on-one on the backside against Shaq Taylor, a 6'1" freshman going against a 6'5" junior from Tampa, Florida. Just about hauled that in for a touchdown.
For this play, they brought in Joshua Stanford. All the way at the top of the screen. Brought in Ben Johnson as well, but they're going to take a timeout. Before. South Dakota State has led this entire football game since a field goal on the first possession. At one point, they led this game 31-7. But Kansas is within striking distance for the first time. Just 4 yards away. The pitch to Kinner. He can't get in. Stopped in the backfield. Great job by Nick Farina, and he dropped him for a loss of 2. And now it'll be 4th down.
And I was kind of with Kinner. I didn't think he got his knee down.
I don't think he did.
I don't think he did. We're shielded a little bit from the the tires, the little pellets that get kicked up. I don't think he had his knee down.
So they will settle for the field goal attempt, and they bring out Nick Bartolota from 23 yards away. The kick is good, and it's back to a 3-point lead for South Dakota State. 11:18 remaining here in the fourth quarter. Kansas has 2 field goal kickers. Matthew Wyman, who handles the kickoffs, has the long leg. But Nick Bartolota, the transfer from the College of DuPage just outside Chicago, the little guy they call Yoda, punches that one through. Let's check in with Christian Stecker. Christian?
Well, one thing we got to keep our eye on as this game unfolds here just simply becomes how South Dakota State stays fresh on defense. Kansas now has over 40 rushing attempts for 250 yards. And, Ben, they're running 4, 5, and even 6 guys on the front lines for South Dakota State in and out of this game. I think it's something we're going to have to definitely watch as both teams try and use their last bit of energy to try and win this football game.
Well, and that's a good point, because in this first game, you don't really know how your conditioning is until you get into the game. This is the first full game that they play. You can simulate as many games as you want in practice, but nothing compares to actually hitting and playing against somebody else in a real live game. So these guys in the trenches, you get those 40 rushes wearing on you. That's going to be a big part of this fourth quarter.
Kansas now has put up 472 yards of offense. Here's Wyman showing off the leg again, just way out of the back of the end zone. Let's go to Jenny Taft in Los Angeles for a game break. Jenny?
Brendan, thanks. Northwestern looking good against number 21 Stanford. Fourth quarter, down 16-6, trying to get into the end zone, but no luck for Kevin Hogan. Intercepted by Kyle Cairo. The Wildcats go on to win this one, 16-6. Brendan, back to you.
Well, thank you, Jenny. Stanford going down week 1.
Wow, that would be a big shocker, but that's what college football is all about, right?
Week 1, you always get some upsets, if you will. And Stanford, who a lot of people have very high hopes for out in the Pac-12. Down to Northwestern. Here we've got a 3-point lead for the FCS South Dakota State Jackrabbits out of Brookings, South Dakota. Lujan swings it out to Isaac Wallace, and the running back powers across the 30-yard line. They have shifted their offense, South Dakota State has, towards Isaac Wallace and away from Brady Mangarelli, who had a big 25-yard touchdown run early on in this game. 9 carries for 67 yards. And most recently, it's been Isaac Wallace all the time. He now has 16 carries for 70 yards, and they've hit him for a couple of passing plays as well. Second and 4. Wallace again. First down, South Dakota State, as he brings it out to the 38-yard line after a gain of 7 before Greg Allen made the tackle.
Well, I think you're starting to see that physicality I talked about with South Dakota State's linemen in the first half. I think they went a little bit missing. KU did a good job of bouncing back this throughout the end of the second quarter into the third quarter, but now starting to see they're imposing their will a little bit more, opening up some holes, pushing that line of scrimmage back into the Kansas lap of the linebackers.
First and goal for, or excuse me, first and 10 for Wallace, and he gets into Kansas territory, knocked down at the Jayhawk 46. We have not seen a lot of 2- and 3-yard runs. We've seen a lot of 13- and 14-yard runs, 20-, 21-yard runs. Another good chunk, 16 yards, picked up on that play by Isaac Wallace.
Well, and the Kansas defenders are taking too much of a side on these offensive linemen. Courtney Arnick comes up, number 28, and just picks the side and just easily gets pushes by. You have to sometimes go downhill and hit these linemen right in the face to drive them back and close off any holes.
Wallace has some space again, and he avoided most of that tackle, sent 2 KU defenders colliding into one another, and he takes it down to the 34-yard line. Tevin Shaw and Greg Allen got each other instead of the shifty Isaac Wallace.
You're going to see the KU defenders all just running sideways. Look at them running sideways. That's not how you stop any sort of run game. You have to get vertical and get upfield. Every time you run sideways, you open up more and more gaps and holes. And this whole drive has been really easy for Isaac Wallace to find a hole and hit it going downhill.
9 minutes to play in the fourth quarter. South Dakota State has led the entire game as they get to the 30 on first down. Markham just shy of it. You're going to see South Dakota State continue to run the ball. Obviously, time on their side. You look back. You hope you don't look back if you're Kansas on that last drive where they went all the way down the field, 15 plays, 70 yards, and then couldn't punch it in at the end. 3 running backs surround Zach Lujan. But he'll throw it, and he's got a man. Wesley came back for it, but couldn't hang on. Tyrone Miller was able to make the contact with Wesley, but he was having a tough time bringing it in.
Well, what a fantastic job by Lujan. Looking left to Winicky, just enough time to create that separation. It's a tough throw. It's behind him, but I feel like that's a catch that Wesley can make. So here's a big key third down right here for South Dakota State on a drive that was otherwise up until this point just too easy.
South Dakota State 5 for 12 on third downs here this afternoon. They need 7. Mangarelli can't get it for him. Skylar Miles stepped up to make the play right at the 30-yard line. And so 4th and 5 is the situation as they mark the ball at the 29. And South Dakota State's offense never moved. It'll be up to Lujan and Wallace. Huge play here. They lead by 3, 4th and 5. Lujan to the outside. And it's a catch. Complete to Dallas Goedert inside the 10. 23 yards. What a grab there at the sideline. What a great
design. A great, fantastic design. Compressing the formations, bringing the tight ends, even the receivers down, which gains you a little bit of leverage on the outside. Goddard does a good job of setting up the route. That was a perfectly placed ball by Lujan. So 4th down, huge conversion for this Jackrabbit offense.
A couple of fantastic throws and catches today between Lujan and his receiving corps. Goddard with that one. Hand it to Wallace. Lunging forward. Down to the 3.
You're going to see Goddard here. Look at the compressed situation I'm talking about. The space of all these guys tight in the formation. And he's going to set up this route with a little bit of inside to outside. Lujan with the perfect timing. Drops it right in the bucket. That might be, at this point, the biggest play for this offense throughout this football game.
The heavy lifters come in for South Dakota State. Direct snap to Wallace, and he's in for the touchdown. First touchdown of the second half for South Dakota State, but it gives them some breathing room with just over 6 minutes to play.
Well, once again, South Dakota State shows off why they're so dangerous on offense. They can hit you with the pass. They can line you up. Go with the big guys in the backfield. They can run the football. Battles through a face mask right there. But this offense, when it gets churning, it is hard to stop because it's hard to find a bead, whether they're going to run or pass or who they're going to throw the ball to, who's going to run it. They got a bunch of playmakers out there.
The lead is back to 10 after the extra point. They needed a key 4th down conversion from Lujan to Dallas Goedert with a great catch on the sidelines to keep the drive alive. To 10 points, Isaac Wallace has been the featured back for the second part of this football game. And he's put up 114 yards and a touchdown. KU getting the ball back, and responding is now necessary. Chandler ran one back 91 yards in the first quarter. He won't have that opportunity here. It'll be the 26-yard line where Montel Cozart will start. And we'll see what this offense can do in a need to score, at least put up some points on this drive if they have a chance to come back and erase this 10-point deficit. Let's check in once again with our own Christian Steckel. Christian?
Well, guys, defensive coordinator Clint Brown for SDSU told us this week up front, saying, quote, "I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's time for us to break through and get a game like this. And it's on us as a defense to carry the torch, and that's the way we want it." Ben, as a defensive guy, I'm sure you can relate. With a 10-point lead, it's on them to get it done.
Well, absolutely. I mean, equally as important. This is a huge drive for the KU offense and an equally bigger series for this SDSU defense. Because SDSU's offense can grind you down, if they don't score here, put some points up, that could be the ball game. So this is a huge series for both sides.
After Keon Kinner got loose for 8, he picks up the first down as he gets to the 40 before Jesse Bobbitt knocked him down. 5-yard carry for Kinner, which now has him a yard shy of 140. He has 2 touchdowns as well in his Kansas debut. And he stuffed that time after just a couple. National Junior College Offensive Player of the Year last year. And his game has translated well here for the Jayhawks. He's going to run off the field now.
You know, even with 2 timeouts that KU has, in 5 minutes and 20 just clicking down, I don't think they have as much time as they think with this type of offense that they're running.
Cozart pumps and then has to go short to DeAndre Mann, and he got knocked off the football, and it was picked up by Joshua Stanford over at the sideline. But look out, DeAndre Mann.
Well, he just takes a shot. A good, clean tackle. And KU's lucky that they actually recovered that fumble. But guys for the Jackrabbits, it's hot down there. You can see him breathing hard, still laying some licks.
So Ryan Shadler will come in. DeAndre Mann missed a lot of last season with concussion problems. And with Keon Kinner having been used a lot already on this drive, they bring in another option in Shadler. On a passing play, he's looking long, and Trey Parmalee came back and got it. Flag on the play, but most likely for PI against the defense. The play goes for 33 yards.
And that's the type of play that you needed. You couldn't take this drive like they started and run the football, think you have this time. At some point in time, you have to take a shot.
Pass interference. Defense, number 51. No penalties decline. Result of the play, first down.
You're going to see him right in the middle of your screen. Just blows right past him. The ball a little bit underthrown, so Parmalee does a great job of just coming back to the football and making a tough catch.
Nowhere to go this time. Trey Parmalee. The name Parmalee rings a bell. His dad, Bernie, played 9 years in the NFL with the Jets and Dolphins. And his son made 4 catches last year. Hit an arm right across his hands there, too. He had to battle. Just his second catch of the football game. He has a rushing touchdown, though. Kinner's getting loose. And a first down for KU at the 11-yard line. But the clock continues to tick. This is a 2-score game for Kansas, and they've got 3.5 minutes to make up 10 points. Kinner again gets maybe a yard. And the whistles come as Keon Houghton a little slow to get up. The backup center, Joe Gibson, was sprinting out of the field, and then Houghton popped up, and Gibson will head back to the sideline. Now they will make the change. Keon Houghton, who had played the entire game, now your center's out. You're bringing in the backup, Joe Gibson, who does have starting experience last year. But that was with Michael Cummings. Crowd growing impatient with the time ticking off the clock. A little pitch to Kinner. And He gets inside the 5.
They got to get up and go. This is still a 2-score game. So even if you end up with a field goal, you still need time on this clock for the defense to work, get a stop, have your offense run down and score again.
Both teams have 2 timeouts. And this play won't happen. Little movement in the backfield from Keon Kinner.
Prior to the snap, false start, offense number 78, 5-yard penalty, remains 3rd down.
They get Larry Mazik, the right tackle, who had some false start issues last year as well.
They have just jumped up just a little bit before the snap. It's a good call. Obvious you can't have that sort of mistake right here in the red zone with how crucial this drive is.
Clock continues to move. Cozart, end zone. They need it, and they got it. Kent Taylor with the touchdown. 2:18 to play.
It's not exactly how you want to use your 6'5" tight ends on a route like that, but it works. You'll see him right on the inside part of the screen, and Cozart just drops it right in the bucket. So 2 passes now where Cozart's had to use his arm, had to use some touch and accuracy. He's been able to do that. So a lot of positive from Cozart just in that one drive.
Another bad snap, but they do get it down. Nice job by TJ Millward to make that a kickable football for Barcelona. And it is now a 3-point game. KU down Jackrabbits with a 3-point lead over Big 12 KU. 2 minutes, 18 seconds remaining in the 4th quarter. And the ball about to be kicked off by Wyman of KU. And he will kick it deep. No chance for a return. No time off the clock. And the ball to the 25 for the South Dakota State offense. But how about the KU offense and the turnaround here in the second half, Ben?
Well, you talk about the defense need to bounce back after that first half. The offense really responded. Cozart has looked much better. He's crisp. He's accurate. Even that last drive, a ball that's slightly underthrown, but Parmalee makes a good play, and the touchdown pass, he's dropped it with great touch and accuracy. So this offense is just a small glimpse of maybe what this offense can look like in this new air raid that Rob Likens is running.
Kansas has now put up 551 yards of offense, but it comes down to defense right now. They need to get the ball back. Both teams have 2 timeouts. I don't suspect South Dakota State will be using theirs with the current score. They hand the ball off to Isaac Wallace. He had a hole. It closed relatively quickly, and then a flag there at the end of the play. After a 4-yard run, Daniel Wise on the tackle, and he may have gotten a little bit of the face mask of Isaac Wallace on the way by.
Personal foul, face mask, defense number 96, 15-yard penalty, automatic 1st down.
Well, too often you see the KU defenders, that's just, that's one of those effort plays where he's trying to make a play. Wise's left hand got in there and pulled the face mask, so you can't really fault him, but you can't make those mistakes either in this situation. KU too often, defenders on the ground and not making tackles on first contact.
So they'll run the play clock down here. And we're inside the final 2 minutes. No surprise they keep it on the ground. Nowhere for Wallace to go as he tried to turn the corner. Marquise Roberts in the way. And KU will use one of their 2 remaining timeouts. 1:44 to play. Between these 2 teams, 79 points. And it's a 3-point game.
That's what I expected, right? That's what you expected too?
Boy, the defensive coordinators, Clint Brown, Clint Bowen, they got some game film to watch.
Oh, yeah.
KU's defense, though, needs a stop. 2nd and 10. From the South Dakota State 44. Lujan's got some room up the middle. He won't get a first down. He won't get to midfield. Monty Mosby took him down. Just 4 yards on the pickup. And the timeout taken by KU is their last, and it stops the clock with 1 minute and 37 seconds on it. Just a reminder, coming up next, we've got Texas Tech and Sam Houston State. And then after that, West Virginia hosting Georgia Southern. As we said earlier, take the remote, just hide it somewhere. You're not going to need it for a while.
You might see 1,000 yards of passing in that first game and about 1,000 yards rushing in the second game.
2 more great football games on the way. We got ourselves one here. South Dakota State kicked a field goal on the very first possession of the game. Little did we know at the time it would come down to 3 points. And it comes down to this third down play. KU can stop them. There's a chance for their chance. Nowhere to go. And he'll have to take the sack. Ben Goodman got their 3rd sack for KU today. But tick, 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 tick. Time will be the issue.
Well, that's the coverage sack that you hadn't seen this whole game. He wanted to go to Winicky up top, was looking, he was single covered. Good job of coverage, nothing to the right. And then the defenders just close in on him. Smart to not throw the ball away into some crowded coverage for a possible interception. So take the sack, let the clock run down, and put it on your defense. See if they can win this football game and squeak out of here with your first FBS win.
And a timeout taken just before the play clock expired as they let it run all the way down. And now before what will be 4th and 9 and 51 seconds on the clock. David Beatty will try and rally the troops here in his first game, not only as the head coach here at Kansas, but as a head coach at the college level. He started his coaching career in the state of Texas as a high school coach at MacArthur High School in Irving, Texas. He was a wide receiver coach here at KU during 2008 and 2009 under Mangino. He left and went to Rice as the offensive coordinator, came back, worked under Turner Gill for the 2011 season, then went and worked with Kevin Sumlin at Texas A&M as their wide receivers coach and director of recruiting, and now back for the first time as a head coach in his first game. His team trails by 3. 51 seconds on the clock. Trey Parmalee is back at his own 20. And he'll get a chance here. Backed up to the 15. Parmalee up the middle. Escapes at the 30. Knocked down at the 40-yard line. Isaac Rodriguez saved it from getting any worse, but what a time for the return.
And you heard Coach Beatty talk about they have to win the 4th quarter. They have to win special teams. It's a low-lining punt that allows him some separation. No defenders down there. You see the speed and the blocking. So a great return to set up this offense. See if they can punch it in. If anything, tied up and go into overtime. See if they can go down and score and win this football game.
They start at the 41. This is the best starting field position they've had all game, and they attack the middle of the field. With no timeouts here, the pass is complete to Shaquem Barbell. Dallas Brown on the tackle. We're inside a half a minute. Ball at their own 45. Cozart out of the shotgun. Flushed, looking, gets out of bounds, and the clock will stop with 15. Chased out by Dallas Brown. Our Fred Loya players of the game. For South Dakota State, they had to replace their starting quarterback, one of their top wide receivers, and their top running back option. And these 3 players stepped up and filled the void quite nicely for the Jackrabbits. Winicky, incredible in the first half, and then they have put it on the shoulders of Isaac Wallace here in the second. 15 seconds to go. Cozart taking forever, will step up and throw. He's got a man, but they're going to run out of time. They've only got 7 seconds. The clock will stop while they move the chains. Matthew Wyman, who kicked a 63-yarder in practice. They fumbled the snap and then spiked it. The clock is stopped. Nope, they're not going to call him down. They call him down. They're not going to get it off. The game is over.
Unbelievable end. They fumbled the snap. Had to pick it up. His knee was down. They call him down. He doesn't get a chance to spike, and the clock runs out.
This is how it ended. The center quarterback exchange, just trying to spike the ball to have a chance at a field goal to tie it. Instead, for the first time in their history, South Dakota State has taken down an FBS opponent. 41-38, the final score.